Hello everyone and welcome. This is our very first Emotional Confidence live Hangout session and I'm so excited. This concept has been created so that all of the women who tune in, whether it's to our live event or to the recording when we make it available, it's just to give you access to inspiration from women all around Australia, from all around the world, who are living their lives with true emotional confidence, who are following the things that they would consider to be their passion and their purpose. And I'm so delighted to introduce you all to our very first guest. This is Blair, Rhianna.
Yes, right. Rhianna. Yep, that's right.
So I was fortunate enough to meet Blair earlier this year down in Melbourne when we both did a Master's Immersion course, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Blair much. But from what I did hear from Blair, what impressed me most was your genuine heart. And when you were creating your program, the enthusiasm that came out of your discovery with what you actually want to do and how you want to work with women, it was just so lovely to witness you stepping into that power. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you. No, it's amazing to be here. I'm loving the whole idea of what you're doing with your group, and just as soon as I heard about you wanting to do these hangouts, I just knew I wanted to be involved. I think it's awesome. I'm loving what you're doing.
Thank you so much. So you call yourself a soul expression expert.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please tell me a little bit more about how you came about creating that as, your definition of who you are and what you do for women?
Yes, no problem. So as a soul expression expert, as a kinesiologist and energy coach, I work with women to get more confidence, direction and meaning in their lives. And I found I've been working with women in my own business for a while now, and I found that each time I would work with women, there was this kind of soul connection where that would happen where whatever it was that they were presenting with, whatever the story that they had at that time or the persona that they were wearing at that time, because we all adopt different masks as we go about our day to survive. When we got down to what was going on for them on a soul level, that's where their true beauty and light shone through, and that's where they were able to push through those masks and express themselves in a more authentic way. And that was creating powerful shifts in their lives and in their relationships, because they were stepping into a truer version of themselves that was completely separate from the idea of themselves leaving behind. And that's where the whole idea of a soul expression expert came out, because I realized that was my gift. That was what was happening with these women, is that they were being given the safety and space and techniques in order to communicate their true self into the world.
Awesome. I've just seen we welcome Kim. I can see we have an attendee. This is so exciting. So Kim, there is a chat bar on the right. If you want to type any questions, I'm going to keep an eye on that, and I can flip them through to Blair as well. So you've said you've worked with women for a little while. What led you down the path to wanting to work with women? Was it because of a personal experience, or was it just something that you found yourself sort of fall into?
It came about as a bit of an evolution. When I first started in more generalised practice with the kinesiology, I was working with pretty much whoever came to me, as we often do when we're first. I was just like, anyone come to me. And I began to become more aware of my own energy levels as a practitioner, and really what lit me up. And I found that when I began to work with particular clients, the amount of change and the pace at which that would happen would come about in a lot more beautiful and flowing way, depending on the people I was working with.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there was anything wrong with some of the people I was working with. It's just a vibration match. So when you align with the type of people that are truly suited to the gifts you have to offer, your business just shapes around that, because you find more energy and more passion for what you're doing. So that was more on the business side, where I began to work more with women that were in a particular stage in their lives, and particularly when it came to relationships. My focus area and where I really excel as a practitioner is working with single women who are ready for a deeply committed relationship, but they don't know the next step. And they know that there's something missing in their lives, and they're wanting a deep connection with someone, but they also feel that there's something holding them back from that. So that's how my program kind of came about, in terms of wanting to help women raise their vibration and heal their past relationship wounds, so that they could begin to attract the type of deeply committed love that they deserve and desire. And definitely that came about from my own personal experience. My first relationship when I was younger was a long-term relationship that had a lot of emotional intensity in it. And on paper, everything was absolutely perfect, and life was set up for me in a very particular way, where marriage was on the cards. We were talking about engagement. There was a lot of long-term plans happening, but deep within myself, I felt lonely in the relationship. I felt disconnected, and there was a part within me that was saying, you're in the wrong place and you're with the wrong man. And I had to really relearn a lot of the ideas that I had around love and what love actually meant and what it meant to give and receive love, because there was also a lot of dependence in the relationship as well. It was kind of like two people holding a ladder and no one climbing it.
Yep.
So there was quite a bit of stagnation where, 3 years in, we were kind of the same people. There wasn't a lot of growth because we were both so, and me in particular, I was so focused on playing the role that I thought that I was meant to play, which is based on my beliefs around what love was and what my role was as a woman. So I thought, my job is to make sure food's on the table and the house is clean. And I had a very old idea around what love was, and it was all based on my underlying belief that love was conditional.
Yep.
So I thought that if I expressed myself or if I created waves in any way, then love would be taken away from me, because I didn't feel deserving of it. So of course, if we don't feel deserving of something, as soon as we get it, we want to get rid of it because it's uncomfortable, because it triggers too much within us. And so then when I reached that point, and a turning point for me was I was very ill when I was in the relationship. I had a very severe autoimmune disease that nearly claimed my life when in my early 20s. And that put a lot of pressure on the relationship as well, because I was very sick and there was a lot of emotional upheaval that happened as a result of that. And so a big part of my turning point was when someone started talking to me about self-love, and I had none of that. I was very switched off from myself. And I remember my response to that being was, I don't need to love myself because I'm in a relationship. So job done. I've got someone else to love me. So I don't need to look at those voids within myself, because I'm just going to keep expecting him to fill those.
Yeah.
And and I think that's something that as women we struggle with a lot, where our relationship becomes such a massive way in which we identify with the world. It's like, I'm not myself, I'm this person's partner.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of just keep ourselves small in a lot of ways so that we don't pressure the parameters of the relationship, because we're afraid of being on our own as a result of that. So that was my experience of having to move through a lot of those belief systems, and I ended up ending that relationship. And it was very, very painful, because everyone kept saying, why would you do that? Like, there's no, there was no abuse, there was no trauma, there was no reason apart from what I felt within myself. And so I really had to grapple with that to reach the point where it's like, this is my experience, this is what my inner voice is whispering to me, and having to own that regardless of what's going on in my external world. And there was a big journey that happened as a result of that, where I had to completely relearn who I was, relearn what love is and what it's not, and heal a lot of those parts of myself that were blocking me from opening up to truly giving and receiving love in a healthy, authentic way. So that's kind of how I came to now helping women reach that point within themselves. And far beyond that point, like, I'm still growing every day, and I'm still, of course, I come up against my own blocks around love and what love is and isn't. But for me, it became about empowering, so enabling women to understand that when something is real for you, that is the greatest truth you'll ever come across.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what, your partner says. It doesn't matter what the relationship looks like. It doesn't matter what other people say. If it's real for you, then that's your guiding star. That's your inner compass guiding you to where you need to be.
Totally agree with that.
Yes.
And that's also, like, that's true in life in general, isn't it? Because we do get so caught up in what we think is expected of us in any role, whether it's a relationship role or a mother role or a professional role even, that we do totally check out from what is true to us and what we want and what is best for us. And I hear a lot of women say, oh, my problems probably aren't as big as someone else's. And my response is always the same thing. But to you, it's your existence. That's your, if you feel that there's an area in your life that needs improving, then that's something that you owe yourself to explore and start looking into, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. And I think that that's where a lot of our struggle as women, I think, comes from the fact that we feel something, we know it, and then we pop it up here in order to decipher it. And that's when and I find, if, say, for example, if you ask someone, what's your stress levels out of 10 around this? And their heart says, oh my God, I'm out of 10. Someone help me. But then their thoughts come in around, oh, well, I should probably be at a 7 because Judy down the street's going through a divorce and, well, I'm not as bad as what I was when I was really at a 10. So, yeah, I'm at about a 7. And that creates so much struggle and inner conflict because there's this constant war going on between what's real and what's perceived.
Yeah. And it also links as well in that conditioning that because we've been raised in a more male, masculine energy social scene, we do try to go more for the logical, let's work this out strategically way instead of tapping into what makes us more female, and that is our heart and our intuition connection. So there's so many women that are disconnected from having the confidence to follow through with whatever they're feeling in their heart or their gut. And I think that's where that whole term of emotional confidence comes about as well. It's being able to recognise that if there's something going on and it doesn't feel right for you, regardless of what the head talk is, let's get you the confidence to be able to work through and start to tune into your heart and your intuition. And it's so cool that there's so many women that are recognising that and offering services to help women to tap into that.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you said that because yesterday when I was thinking about emotional confidence, what it meant to me, that's exactly where my mind kind of went to, not so much confidence in terms of confidence as an outward projection of an inner state, but more having confidence within our own emotions to know that they're real and having the strength to honour that. So yeah, I love that you said that, and particularly with what you know about the female brain as well. Just in terms of the fact that we feel first, and then that's when every other process takes place. Whereas men operate from a very different space, and I think so much of the struggle and pain and frustration that women experience comes from the fact of trying to navigate life like a man, because that's the structure that we've worked with. But as long as we keep trying to do things the same way, things will continue to be the same way.
That's right.
Stepping into that honouring and acknowledging that our strength is in our feminine vulnerability, and that's where our power is, not from this outward show of force that is often, displayed in the male paradigm.
Totally. Oh, I love it. So what inspires you to continue to step into your space of emotional confidence?
For me personally, it's the feelings that happen within my body when I'm not honouring that space. So I find that when I'm truly engaging with my body, when I'm truly hearing its wisdom and feeling what's real for me, and I allow myself to go on that inner journey of going, this is what I'm feeling. What is the root of that? What is it that my body and my heart is trying to guide me towards and show me that I need to work on in order to grow into the person I want to be? And as soon as I step out of that and I get lost in my headspace and I get lost in the hows as opposed to the why, the grander vision for what I want and what I want to achieve with the women I work with, that's when I encounter resistance. That's when I feel myself step out of flow with my own inward journey, and that's where a lot of my pain and angst comes from. And I get lost in this, but how's it going to work and what's it going to look like, and my inner world steps out, and I begin to just kind of look in on myself, and I think, oh my God, people could be judging me for that, and I'm in people's way. I need to step back because people aren't maybe ready for what I want to say. But when I turn that around and come at it from the internal space of honouring, then that's when the shifts begin to occur, and it's a lot more seamless and a lot less painful. So why wouldn't you want to be in that space of truly operating from your own knowing? And it is definitely a challenge. It's definitely a journey, but there's an incredible amount of power that women are able to experience when they move from that space.
Definitely. So what would be the one piece of advice that you would give to a woman if she was resonating with an element of what you're saying? What advice would you give to her?
The advice that I would give, kind of in a nutshell, would be that when you truly honour yourself and say what you feel, you can't lose. Because a lot of the time we don't say what we want to say because we're afraid of other people's reactions, or we're afraid of them, of losing them in some way, or being abandoned or rejected. But when you feel something and you feel it to the extent that you want to say it and say what's going on for you, there's only two things that will happen. The one thing is that you'll be showing up in your full self, and that person will receive you, and that will enable a new level of being seen with that person, and a new level of growth with that person. Or they'll see you for your true self and it won't resonate with them. It won't gel, and that person will then step out of your life. And though that may be painful, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Good experiences aren't always experienced as a good sensation. Sometimes we need to go through it in order to come out the other side. So when that person moves out of your life, it creates space for someone else that matches your vibration to come into your world and see you as that true, authentic showing of yourself. So, and I know that's really, really hard, and I know that's, it's really easy to say and a lot harder to act. But when you begin to go inward and actually honour where you're at, and it takes so much courage to show up and to be who you are, then the world receives you for that. And your life grows from there, even though there needs to be sometimes a point of struggle in that. But when you're comfortable, you're not growing. Growth exists on the other side of fear. So when you're able to push through that point and truly step up and say, this is who I am, regardless of how it's received, your truth comes first, and the world then reflects that.
Yeah, that is so true. And it also sort of ties into that whole accepting that where you are is where you are, and the only one who can help you to move beyond where you are is by you first acknowledging that you want to move beyond that space.
Yeah.
So, and again, coming back down to that whole honouring yourself and putting yourself first, we see, and I'm sure you said the same thing, women constantly putting other people first and depleting their own energy levels and depleting their own love for themselves and acceptance for themselves because of, this perceived concept that they have that other people come before them. So just to come back down to that, let's put the oxygen mask on you first, and then you can be of greater service to everybody, because you've looked inside and you've actually healed yourself first and foremost to give to others.
Exactly, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think, like, when I talk about relationships, I think of every single moment we're in relationship. Relationship is just two things connecting to one another. So when we're in the workspace, we're in relationship. When we're in a family setting, we're in relationship, because it's how things relate to one another. Yeah. So I definitely think that whole idea of, a lot of women, they associate putting themselves first as a show of selfishness. But life is a mirror, particularly relationships. They're a mirror. They show you exactly where you're at each time. So if you're not being true to yourself, or if you're not honouring yourself, or if you're not truly expressing yourself, then life mirrors that back to you. And that's when we experience conflict, and that's when we experience resentment and channel that anger towards the people that we perceive are taking away our power. So definitely, I 100% resonate with what you're saying. That's awesome.
Sensational. So if anyone, we do have another lady, Tony's jumped on. Thanks, Tony, for joining us. So exciting. This is such a big first for Blair and I. I love bringing women together. It's so great. So if anyone wants to learn more about your Raw Heart program, how can they get in contact with you?
They can get into contact through PM on Facebook, either through my personal page, Blair Rhianna, or my business page, Blair Rhianna, the self-sabotage specialist, or send me an email at blair@blairrhianna.com and I'll get back to you. Rhianna is Rhianna. A lot of people spell it with Rhianna the music artist, which is, you know, a fair enough mistake to make. We could so, that's the best way to get in touch, and then I'll be able to give you some more information and have a chat to you to see where you're at and how it might be able to be of service.
Sensational. I'll pop your links when I share the video. I'll pop the links in there so they can connect. And if anyone's not part of our Emotional Confidence for Women community, then you are all welcome. It's a community where, you know, the title speaks for itself. It's just about helping you to have that inner confidence to be okay with wherever you're at. Because sometimes you will go through hard times and you need to sit in the struggle street for a little while and really accept and acknowledge that that's where you're at. And when you're ready to move beyond that, then we also share lots of strategies and tips so that you can start to consciously bring yourself back into flow, which is, that's the whole awareness journey, isn't it? Recognizing that you always have a choice to be able to move from where you are into a space that serves you better. So, yeah. Join us at Emotional Confidence for Women, and if you've got any questions for either Blair or myself, then you can pop them into the chat bar. We might keep the chat open for another minute or two, so if you've got a question, pop it in, Tony or Kim, or anyone else who happens to join in. And of course you can contact us via our Facebook pages as well. So thank you for your comment. Kim's just written and said, yeah, you're both doing an amazing job, so thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Oh, and Tony's writing too, by the looks of it. Isn't this exciting?
Oh, God. Full legit.
Oh, it's such a great. I just love that with the way, and you've probably noticed it as well. Remember back in 2012, they started talking about end of August 2012 was going to be the end of the world. Any of the studies where they've now said that it was not so much the end of the world, it was the end of masculine energy being the dominant energy, and now we've gone into a more feminine flow.
Yes, we're stepping into the age of consciousness, and yeah. I've definitely, like, even just over the past few years, there is a lot more of awakening around how I think there's a lot more of a claiming back of power. Like, people are becoming more interested in how to become their own doctors and how to be their own healers, and people are craving that inner awareness where they can awaken to their purpose. So we've moved out of this kind of period of struggle and lack and scarcity where it's all about a pulling towards, like pulling, you know, resources and pulling energy and trying to conserve. And now there's an outward flow where everything's now about service and connection. I think it's an amazing time to be, and there's such a beautiful elevation of energy that's happening.
It is. It's exciting, and it's so good to see women coming together to do just that. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time today, Blair. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I've loved getting a little bit more of an insight into your journey and your heart, because my initial response of thinking that you're a woman who leads from the heart is definitely true. You definitely have a heart for not just tapping into your own power, but also helping other women to do the same thing. So I can't wait to see where you go from here.
Thank you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you take this these hangouts. I think it's an amazing opportunity for women to come together and create that kind of virtual women's circle of sharing and exploring and support. So thank you. I think this is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Good stuff. Neither can I. We'll see how it goes. So thank you to Kim and Tony who have joined us online. Thank you both so much. And for everyone who watches the replay, I hope that you've been able to take a little piece of wisdom or a little bit of gold out of what Blair was sharing with you. If the only thing that you take out of it is that I've lost my words. You owe yourself the opportunity to look within and identify where you want to start focusing your energies on. And if there's a part of you that is not feeling great, then there are plenty of people, myself and Blair included, that we are here to help you to rid whatever block it is that you've got. So, reach out for help. You've got, between Blair and myself and all the other women that we're going to have on these live hangouts, you're going to have a massive source of contacts that you'll be able to reach out to when the time is right for you. So have a great afternoon. Thank you again, and thank you to Blair. And I'm sure we'll see you all online.
Thank you.
See you, everyone.